guys. Glad to be here. I didn't want to just give the case study on us. I didn't want to say, hey, here's how I started and how cool we are. I really wanted to go into some tactical nuances. I think that's kind of the emphasis of these events. So we do manage marketing automation software for companies. So you guys might, anybody know of HubSpot? Locally here, you guys know of HubSpot. Some of you guys use Constant Contact software like that. A lot of the time people have those programs implemented, but they're not necessarily being optimized. So any smart company, if you guys have your tech guy, you might not be the tech guy, but if you have a main website or you have pay-per-click advertising, whoever's managing that is testing the heck out of it. They're making sure that whatever money you're spending to get those leads is being optimized. However, after they opt in or after they become customers, the automated contact that follows up with them often isn't optimized because nobody really knows how to leverage that back-end software. So that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit today. I'll only talk a tiny bit about myself just so you guys get an idea of who the heck I am. Essentially, my backstory, I began with a martial arts academy in an 8,000 person town. So I was in Wakefield, Rhode Island. This is the only time you'll ever hear of it. You'll probably never drive through it, and it'll go in one ear and right out the other. But Mr. Jarrett's from Rhode Island too, so at least I got some love there. But anyway, 8,000 person town, and as you can imagine, you can run out of leads pretty quick. Only so many humans, right? We're right on the water, so it's not one of those things where we can mess up this lead gen because there's more, because we just run right out of them. So for me, in order to grow that business, in order to get it to 100 students, eventually sell that business, I really had to, even after a roof collapse, which was kind of a crazy event. We were in a really old building in Rhode Island. It's very common down there, mill buildings. I had to maximize the heck out of our email marketing software. Whenever we got a lead, it had to not only be, okay, this is someone interested in martial arts, but in order for that targeted follow to make sure that person came in the door and get that business sold and to grow that business, we had to know name, age, we had to sub-target them, determine the benefits they were looking for, and make sure that the follow-up was succinct and tested specifically to them to get them in the door and sell them face-to-face. Many of you are in the same thing. We've done the same thing in e-commerce. So that's how I started, and that's why I got very, very neurotic about these software, okay? Not because I'm a nerd and I like software, but because, by golly, I had to make it work for my own business. So I ended up going to UPenn for positive psychology and skill development. I focused a lot of those strategies myself on how I ended up learning the marketing automation softwares that we're using now, and I've done trainings with all the various companies. You guys might know Infusionsoft and Constant Contact and all these other folks. Have been lucky enough to learn from a lot of the best in terms of consultants there, and I'm currently getting my strategic marketing certif at the Sloan School, so I'm going to be applying that there. So anyway, it ended up, our story of taking our martial arts gym and turning it into an internet business, which ended up over the course of 12 months turning into a $40,000 a month online e-commerce business, and then applying those strategies to different niches, ended up landing us on Mixergy. Some of you guys have heard of Mixergy. I'm going to be on growthhacker.tv actually at 1 o'clock today, so I'm going to run off and make sure I can get into a room that's quiet enough and do that interview. We got featured in some pretty cool places and started teaching other folks the same thing, and obviously now I'm right here in the CSE. So I'm going to talk about one initial strategy that anybody here can leverage, initial parsing. Okay, if you have a main front-end website, and you have different categories of folks who land on your website and you want to be able to market them succinctly. It might be the size of the company. It might be the industry. It might be by gender. I don't know how your business works. But you want to categorize folks into different buckets. And you could do 50 of them, but to make things succinct, generally speaking, we like to limit that. So if you have a main opt-in on your front-end website, you usually don't drop your opt-in rate very much. In fact, sometimes you can bump it by actually adding a drop-down and letting them select which one they are, which industry are you, how big is your company, etc. And if your follow-up can hyper-target those people, your open rates go up, your click-through rates go up, and your initial closes off of those front-end leads goes up as well. So if you have a main front-end website down here, giving them the option to select what they are makes those emails get opened a lot more. So that's a great initial strategy. If you have more specific landing pages, let's say you have a blog, okay? So talking to folks in insurance maybe. If you have a blog that speaks to different insurance issues or considerations, there might be a blog that really is talking to startups. You're talking to earlier stage companies. Whatever they opt in for, that marketing shouldn't be general, like we do insurance for businesses, we like business insurance. It shouldn't be like that. It should be targeted for startups. So if you have a blog post that's about that, if there's an opt-in there, that should be follow-up that's consistent with that message. And simply by parsing contextually by where you found them, or by letting them parse themselves on the front page, way higher open rates, and that can obviously lead to a lot higher ROI on whatever email marketing software you're using. Whether you're selling online or you're selling in person, I do it with both, and we plug it in for businesses that do both. So the action here is determine some of those major categories of business that you have. Is it by industry for you? Is it by company size? Is it by their interests? Whatever it might be, what are those, and how can you add that into either contextual landing pages and or a drop-down you can let people select? Very easy plug-and-play strategy. That's simple enough. A second thing that we'll get into, this is probably the only additional strategy I get into here today, is going to be second helping. So second helpings of data is what I'm talking about right now. Essentially, if you have somebody fill out, let's say, a survey, right, on your main website, they enter, again, maybe we're talking name, industry, size of company, all those kind of things. The best time to get additional data out of them is after they've already given you data. So it's not following up 6 emails later, hey, we have this other survey. Your best shot, and often greater than 50%, even if you're asking for 200% more information, you'll get 75% conversion on right after survey 1 having survey 2 pop up. So if you can know that much about your prospects right off the bat, obviously helps you sell really, really darn well. So that's one initial strategy that many folks use. If you have an initial survey, don't survey them 3 weeks later. Survey them right then and there, and give them a little bonus. Hey, by the way, we also created this recent white paper about XYZ that we know is going to be really applicable to you. I'm happy to send it right along if you just fill out the secondary survey. That's another great way to add some richness to your database. What do I got on time, Timmy?
3. You're good.
3 minutes? Okay, fantastic. So we'll talk about the database. All right, so this will be the last strategy I get into that. Hitting the database. Remember I talked about parsing on the front end or parsing contextually. Has anybody ever sent a blast email to their email list? Anybody ever done that? Just email everybody, just push the button, it sends it out, right?
Yeah.
We all do that. So we do the same thing, but we advise companies to have that richer data in their database to allow for higher opens and higher click-throughs. I don't know about you guys, but our money is made when people see our offers. It's eyeballs on offers, whether it's a call to action to get an appointment, whether it's to purchase something on the internet, don't care what it is, you need eyeballs on offers. So in order to make that happen, I could send out a big old blast, hey, businesses, blank, blank, just cover everybody, right? 3,000 people, maybe 8% open if I'm lucky. Maybe let's say 1 out of 20 is a buyer, I get 12 buyers. 12 buyers out of 3,000. That's not the end of the world, right? But if I have them sub-targeted, let's say this is by industry, this is by size of business, this is by something relevant to them, those relevant categories we just talked about. If I then send this 1,000, who fits in one category, their subject line, their first paragraph, their call to action, just a little bit different. I'm not talking about writing a totally different email, I'm talking about changing the subject line, that's it. You might get 4% higher open with those folks. With this other subsegment, you might get drastically higher open with those folks. With this other subsegment, you might get drastically higher open with those folks. Now, this is estimating that the click-throughs don't also go up, which is often the case if you have targeted messaging. Now, we end up having this many opens as opposed to this many opens. We end up having twice as many buyers. We do this very, very plug and play by parsing on the front end. Every broadcast should not be a blanket that offends anybody. It should be hyper succinct, just like your front end marketing. Okay? So very easy to implement that once you have some richness in the database and you can get that information as they are coming in. So that, I'm going to make sure I can wrap up for you guys. Again, in terms of an action step, figure out what those categories are. What do you know about your folks now? And the next broadcast you send out, instead of bumping it to everybody, pick some subsets. See how much higher those open rates are. See how much higher those click-throughs are if just the subject line matches them. Give it an experiment. I'm guaranteeing you guys are going to see results with that. Again, that's really one of those fail-proof strategies. So that is it for me.
What does CLV stand for?
Customer lifetime value. So that's really the metric we're looking for. Profit per prospect. So the number of folks that come in, how much are you able to make from them in terms of upsells, downsells, and automating those processes. If you're interested in those kind of things, obviously catch up with me. I'm a nerdy email marketing guy, so I get into that stuff all the time. And we got a white paper on the main website. So thank you very much, guys.
And
I appreciate
you're right
it.
here at the CIC.
Yes. Let's go.